Hello and welcome to another episode of The Naked Turner. Today I was using my wedgie sled to cut a bunch of wedgies, and now I've made all these segments up and I'm starting to glue up these rings. The rings are now, I have, what do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rings, and then I have a solid walnut base. Let me pan over here to the lathe and show you what I'm working on. But before I do that, always remember to read, follow, and understand all the shop safety for any tool that you're going to be using, and especially protect your eyes. Let's turn around over here, check out what I got on the lathe. Alright, I'm outside here and I just cut up these series of rings, 1, 2, 3, 4 rings and a solid piece of walnut. I believe this is elm. These 2 rings are elm. And then some sapele with white oak will be the top ring, and then a full ring of sapele underneath that, and then the base will be made up of this solid chunk of walnut, which looks like it might be pretty nice. So anyway, I've just been cutting these parts, and now I'm going to glue them together into rings. Okay, so here's my base ring, and it's glued to the first segmented ring. I'm going to use my scrolling jaw chuck to expand out into here, and then I'll apply a mortise on the bottom of the walnut, and that'll be how I start flattening out and shaping the first ring. Okay, so now what I can do is take and slip this on, my chuck like so, and then expand out into that, and that will be perfect. So that makes it easy to go ahead, square up or true up the bottom, make my mortise, and then start turning the first segment, and I can flip it around and apply my additional segments. Alright, so now I have the bottom of the bowl finished and my mortise made. I have it chucked up, and then I just use my bowl gouge to scrape and surface this real close to being perfectly flat, and then I just use a sanding block and got it perfectly flat now, and I'm ready to attach my next ring. But first I have to flatten that ring, and I'll show you how I do that. Alright, so this is the next tip. I take some fast cap double-sided Woodturner's tape. I stick it to the freshly surfaced face of the awaiting segmented ring, and then I have the back side of this ring, which actually, this side. I have this side of this ring lightly sanded down, and I'm going to stick that on there as best of my ability on center. Then I will turn and surface this side off, and that will give me the ability to flip it over and have that face nicely cleaned up. Anyway, that's how I do this. Then I'll glue it and clamp it between my between the head of my lathe and my tailstock. Alright, so now the next ring is clamped on there. I'm using my sanding block, and then once that dries up a little, I can loosen my tailstock and use my sanding block to flatten this off, kind of loosely pinching it between my tailstock and holding on out here until the rings get too big for me to safely do that. So here's what I'm talking about. I have very little pressure on the sanding block, and I'm using that to sand away on the surface here. And I'll increase the pressure lightly until I get this surfaced off. It's a good way to get a nice flat surface. Sorry about the shaky camera. Alright, so I shot a little bit of shaky cam with my cell phone, which I might interlace with this. But anyway, I have a piece of walnut here on the base, and then I have what I believe to be elm. At least that's what was written on this piece. I'm not familiar enough with elm wood to know if this really is elm, but I gotta say, it looks like it's going to be really beautiful. It's kind of a golden, almost looks a little like cherry or some other kind of fruit wood. It cuts extremely nicely. That's part of why I decided to get my camera out here and shoot a little bit of this. Let me change the camera angle here so you can get a better view, and then I'll do some hollowing on this piece before I get ready to apply the next ring, which is a sapele ring. Alright, so this is the elm here. I have 2 rings of elm, like I was saying, on top of that piece of walnut in the bottom. And just grabbing my safety and suiting up here. And I just glued these rings on not that long ago, but this Type Bond 2 sets up really fast, and I'm just going for it. So as you can see, this stuff is just flying off of here. So just wanted to kind of share that with you. I'm going to do another couple passes here and move my tailstock back a hair and pull out the center so I don't poke my elbow. Okay, and move these lights up a little bit out of my way. Okay, coming in. Bringing the speed up a hair. Kind of in the way with my light. Sorry about that. This piece on the bottom of walnut happens to be a very hard, kind of curly piece of walnut. I'm going to have to probably use my bottom feeder. So I just wanted to share with you how nicely this, what was marked anyway as elm. I got this for free at a site that was getting rid of a bunch of lumber. They had posted on Craigslist. It was all S4S, you know, 4-side surfaced, and I couldn't pass it up. It looked really funny. I can show you a piece of it here. And it was kind of all grayed out, didn't look really that attractive, but then I picked it up and I noticed that it felt like some kind of a fruit wood to me, and I asked about it and they claimed they thought it was elm, so I'm not sure, but anyway, there it is. I wrote elm on it just in case, and maybe one of you guys knows. Once this is done, you can tell me if this is really elm. So anyway, I'm going to do some more hollowing on this. It's essentially the same kind of cutting. I'll probably use my round nose scraper, heavy duty round nose scraper here on the bottom, because I got a big knot down here. That's part of what's making it chatter. And we'll see what happens. Try to make this piece come off nicely. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be adding this ring of sapele. So I'm going to take and double stick this ring, same thing I did before, double stick this ring to here. Turner's tape it on here, surface it off, flip it over, surface it off again, then it'll be ready for glue up. Okay, so I've got the double stick tape on here, and just kind of eyeballing center. I'm not gluing it on, it doesn't have to be perfect right now. Just trying to get it fairly close, like that. And then, bring up my tailstock, and apply a little bit of clamping pressure just with my quill here in that direction, and then in that direction. Okay, that should get that on there pretty well. And you got to be careful because it could potentially fly off of there, but as long as you take light cuts and don't put too much pressure on when you're sanding, everything should be fine. So first thing I do, doesn't need to be spinning that fast. I'm down here around 1200 RPM. Oh, just so you're clear as to what I'm saying now, I'm going to pop off the double stick. I'll peel away all those pieces. Sometimes they're a little bit of a bear to get off, but sometimes this one looks like it's not being too bad. At least those two weren't. This one wants to be a little more resistant, but anyway, you peel that off. Now I have a nice surface. I glue it right on here. Now I have two nice flat surfaces. Alright, so anyway, I won't bore you with trying to get this Turner's tape off here because it can be pretty tenacious at times, which is what you want. Alright, so now I've marked out where that circle corresponds, and I'll just glue up to that line. That will give me a reference line so that I don't need to put any glue out past that line. So now I've replaced my small sanding board with a larger board that spans the entire segment, and I have that segment clamped up here between my tailstock and the rest of the rings and the base of the bowl, as well as my chuck and my headstock. Okay, a little more turning in here now that I have the next ring glued on. And that was only about 20 minutes ago. Less than that even. Okay, what I'm going to do now is surface this outer edge. Okay, so now since I have so little surface area in contact with this ring, I've put on here 6 pieces of the double stick Turner's tape by Fastcap. This is high performance. I use this a lot in the building trades when I'm positioning cabinet pieces like latches and things like that, or door strikes. It's very handy for putting a little piece of this on the back of your door strike, putting it in place, making sure everything lines up, marking out for your door strike or your bullet latch or whatever it is, and then you know it works, it's in the exact right spot. There's no measuring or guessing. You can make an index line for the center line and then double stick it on there and make your marks. If everything works right, you can test it and then boom, pull it off, mortise away for whatever piece you're trying to inlet into that woodwork. So this Turner's tape is very handy for all kinds of things. Holding fixtures on your table saw. I use it for holding the triangular part of my wedgie sled. all the off-ramp for my wedgie sled, although that may not be advisable. So don't do it if you don't want to, but always wear your face shield anyway. Okay, now I'll bring up my tailstock again. Just a quick little pressurization here. And a lot of times this might be a little too much because sometimes it's really even hard to get these off of there after I do this. It's just kind of sticking that tape on real well. Okay, yeah, that feels like it's on there really well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is flatten that out, and then that'll be ready for glue up. And so on. Now this is the last ring on this bowl, but you could continue doing that same process in order to build up rings. It's an easy way. I find it goes really quickly and not a lot of fuss and muss. I have done this much of this bowl today. No extra preparation. I started maybe, what is it now? I started maybe 3.5, 4 hours ago. Yeah, something like that, 3 hours ago. I started right around noon and it's 3:30, so I had to wheel stuff out. So yeah, about 3 hours and I've accomplished all this. So it does not take as long as people think to do segmenting, as long as you use a few simple tricks. Hope this has helped. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is surface this off. And I want to bring up the speed real slowly here. I'm not going to turn this too fast because it's a fairly large ring. So I'm going to go right up here around 800 and 900 RPM. Just real light passes. I think I'm almost there. A little bit more because of these parallel pieces. This stock was a little thinner, so I've got to go a little more. Coming up to 1,000 RPM. It's feeling pretty good. Just a tiny bit more right here. Then the rest of it feels really good. Okay, so we're going to do a little okay, now it's all about sanding. Bringing my tool rest over and a little bit of sand. Okay, just a tiny bit more sanding to do. Alright, let's check it here. Just a little bit more on this outer edge. of hair. Okay, there we go. Now it's looking really nice. It's real dusty though, and I forgot my air hood at work this weekend. Alright, so I had a top ring failure because I had failed to glue that top ring up. I just double stuck it on there and it was holding so well I forgot that I was just surfacing it off, and I actually started going ahead and shaping it like an idiot. But anyway, this piece here is going to become a slightly 3/4 of an inch, or actually about 5/8 of an inch or so shallower bowl than it was going to be. So once again, you know, you can strive for something, but be prepared to end up with something that's a little different. And I'm just going to get rid of some of this glue. Like that. Now, I might have left this ring a little different, but I'm just going to start shaping this now and try to come up with something that I'm happy with here. Get rid of that. Now I'm going to shape the outside edge of the top 2 layers and blend them into the bottom. I think you lost this part. Anyway, I lost this ring because I had forgotten a very important step. I hadn't glued this on. I had only actually double stuck it on. It was holding so well I forgot that it was actually just double stuck on, and I went a little ahead of myself. So now I'm going to save this and I'll use it for a picture frame or something else later on. Alright, I'm back here. I'm getting ready to shape. Okay, so now back to hollowing the inside of this bowl. And it is unfortunate that I lost that part, but now we'll see what I end up with. It might, of course it's going to be what it is, but hopefully it'll be beautiful even in its imperfection. Just put a coat of sanding sealer on, and I'm going to put another coat on. Whoops, got a little bit of dust right there. Actually, before I put the second coat on, I'm just going to knock down anything that stood up real fast, inside and outside. A little denibbing like that. Okay, and then we're going to turn the speed down real slow, down here around 200 RPM. Okay then, on to the Yorkshire grit. So alright, so here it is, the finished piece. Hope you enjoyed watching this one being made. And let me zoom out a little bit for some reason. There we go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this being made. This was a lot of fun to make. I did lose the top ring, but I think in all, this piece came out really nice. It got a really nice finish on it. Just got to wipe some of the dust off the bottom. Got it really nice and thin throughout. Left a tiny little bit more weight right at the very base just to help it sit nicely. But there it is. Another finished piece from, there we go, get that out of the way. Another finished piece from the studio of the Naked Turner. And I really hope you enjoyed. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, share, and make a comment. I love getting comments. And become a subscriber if you're not one already. If you are a subscriber, I really appreciate all of your continued support and comments. Thanks again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and safe turning.